Welcome to the video. So today I thought I would talk about Global Work and Travel Company. They are the company that I went to Australia with. So basically I bought my visa in October time and I contacted the company about maybe 3 months later, maybe in January. So I bought my visa thinking that all I needed was a visa and flights and insurance. There's so much more that you need when you're moving country to live there. And this is what they helped me with the most. If any of my friends asked me if they should use them, I would say no, because they know me and I can give them advice and I can tell them like places to go and everything like that. But if you are going on your own and you don't know anyone that has been through it, then I would say, yeah, it's probably worth it. In order to go with the company, you go through like an hour phone interview with them. They just want to make sure that before taking your money that you are going to go through with the experience, because it is a lot of money. It's like £1,000 for the company. You know, they don't want to take that £1,000 and then you've paid it and then you think, well, actually I don't want to go traveling. It's not like a scam or anything. They seem legit to me. So what that £1,000 gets you is it's their job to find you a job and a place to live, so that when you arrive, you're not like just stuck. So they set up like Skype interviews and everything like that. Then they also help you find a place to live, which I'm not quite sure how they would do that because I never really got to that stage. But they did for me and for everyone else. They find a hostel and they pay for the first few days. And the hostel that they put me in, I absolutely loved. It was so nice. I met so many good people there. So this is where I would say to someone, you don't necessarily need to use a travel company, because there's actually an app called Hostelworld or hostelworld.com, or maybe both. And there's so many hostels on there and they show you reviews and they have pictures of them. With the job side for me, they ask obviously what sort of thing you're going to go into, and for me it was hospitality. They then asked me where I would like to be located, and that's how they'll set up job interviews and everything. I said I wanted to be on the Gold Coast. I said I didn't have really a preference of where on the Gold Coast, but I have some like kind of relatives that live in Broadbeach there. So I wanted to be close enough to be to them in case something goes wrong, then I can get there easily. And they said, fantastic, like again, like Gold Coast is a big tourist place, it should be easy to find jobs. So Global Work and Travel's rule with finding a job is they will send through a job, set up the interview, even if you don't want it. But if you don't take it, they then have no obligation to send you another job option for 4 weeks. This is where it went wrong for me. I turned the first job down. They gave me a job which was 14 hours away from the location that I had requested. Of course, you may not get your location, but as long as you can kind of get to it. What annoyed me, I set my location as to fly into Brisbane. This place was like 3 hours from Sydney, but 14 hours from Brisbane. I would have said that I was going to arrive in the Sydney office if I wanted a job near Sydney. So I was like, you want me to pay for another flight? Like, what's going on here? So obviously I turned that one down and they were like disappointed. They were like, oh, can't believe it. And I'm like, well, it is 14 hours away and you know I don't drive. So how would I get to anywhere? When I arrived in Australia, the company had set up a minibus to come and pick us up from the airport, which I am so grateful for. And then the next day after we arrived, it was either the next day or the day after that. Again, the accommodation's paid for up to this point. We go to the office, we do our orientation. They go through like Australian food that we may not recognise, like animals to look out for, so they educate you, which was, again, like it's something you're not going to get if you don't go with a travel company. And they were so accommodating and all the staff there were lovely. So for me, because I was moving my whole life to another country, there are like a few things I didn't think about, which they do. So they set up my bank account for me, which I just have to take my passport to the bank. And they also set up a phone number, so in the orientation, they give you your new SIM card and they say if you want to change, like, that's fine, but this is just temporary so that you can, you know, contact your family back home and everything like that. So again, that's amazing. So I arrived after turning the job down maybe 3 weeks prior. They were like, yeah, we can't find you a new job yet because it hasn't been 4 weeks. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I turned down the first job, they won't pay for my accommodation. So I was like, okay, sweet. So I was in that hostel for like a month, maybe 3 weeks to a month. I had envisioned in my mind of going to Australia and having a job the day after I got there, or after I got over jet lag, and I'd be working and I'd be earning money, because I didn't really go with much money myself. I only went with maybe £1,000, which is $2,000, or maybe it was double that, I don't really remember. But you just socialise so much that it just goes like you spend $1,000 easily within a week. So because Global Work and Travel weren't finding me a job, I found my own job in the city that I wanted, and I managed to find a friend at the hostel and get an apartment with her. So the two primary things that you pay £1,000 for this travel company for a job and accommodation, they did not get me. It was good for my anxiety. It helped me get to where I wanted. It made me not worry. I knew that I was going to be looked after. And if you're someone that does worry, maybe spending that extra £1,000 is worth it. They were lovely, but I do think that they took more money than they should have from the service that I personally got out of them. But I do also know people that got a job from it, but I also know a few other failed cases. A bit more on the money side. With the travel insurance, I really regret getting it from Global Work and Travel. They must have a deal with a insurance company that is like really expensive, and I went for their most basic package, which was £1,000. And when I got there, I was asking people, it's just a general conversation, like how much things cost them, because everyone went through different people, and most people said it cost them £600 or, you know, £500. Like they found cheap deals themselves outside of their own travel companies. And I was like, oh, I could have saved like £400 minimum if I sorted out my own travel insurance. The fact that I went for the most basic package and they were trying to get me to buy a more expensive one, like, oh, we think this isn't enough for you. And I was like, yes, it is. I'm not spending more than £1,000. And then the flights that they offered me as well, I think they were like £1,200 to £1,400 for a one-way. And that time of year, because I went start of August, is expensive anyway. So I wasn't expecting it to be cheap, but I knew that that was way too much money for the flight that they were offering me. If they were offering me a return ticket, then I'd think, yeah, £1,400, that's fine, but it was a single. And you can buy singles for £800. So I chose to go to a travel agent instead, and I sat down with them for like 2 hours, and they were great. They looked at every flight. I had like 5 different dates all back to back that I was happy to travel on, and they went through every date and every airline and came up with this airline for an open return ticket, which means you have the set date to travel out on, and you technically have a set date to travel back on, but then you just change the date closer to the time, which doesn't cost much money at all. So that was like £1,200 or just under £1,200 for an open return for both ways. Seeing as the people that do go with Global Work and Travel are young people that don't know what they're doing, it's a bit annoying. It feels like I was taken advantage of. Like the fact that thank God that I bought my own flight. I could have saved money on my insurance, and then I just didn't really like how they offered me a job that was 14 hours away from the location that I said, because that's just ridiculous. take from this what I've said what you will, whether you will want to go with them because you don't really know what you're doing and you don't know anyone that's done it to give you advice. So therefore, yeah, choose them, but pay for your own insurance and flights, please. But yeah, everything else, like, they're great, and they might be really successful with you and find you a job that you want, and they will help with your accommodation. So yeah, like, you can do research or you can do things on your own and just find your own hostels. It will just take a lot longer to do all these little things on your own, and it might add a lot more pressure to yourself. So it just depends what type of traveller you are. I feel half scammed from them, but also half amazing and really happy that I went there with them. So yeah, pick your own experience. Don't let anyone else tell you something different. Just go with what makes you feel comfortable. And that's the best advice I can give. Yeah, that's my honest review. That's it. Yeah, that's it.